The Forest Flags Line 613 podcast is brought to you by
FMS Lawn Care LLC,
Forest Flags,
Line 613 Apparel.
and Indian Mills Honey.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you.
Oh,
All right,
gee.
everyone. Yeah, yeah, it's on, baby. All right, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 10 of the Forest Flags Line 613 podcast. Episode 10, first episode of 2025, and we couldn't be more fortunate to have the guests that we're having on today. We got linked up through Fire Ice Frogs, and after a nice conversation the other day, here we are. We're recording. So today, episode 10, we have Tommy Richardson, a 26-year United States military service member who had recently retired, served in the United States Marine Corps as well as United States Navy as a Navy SEAL, and born and raised in Texas. He's now in Virginia, and he's doing his thing. He's got quite a story. So we're so fortunate to have him on there. So without further ado, Tommy, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. I know time is valuable these days, and you have a lot going on. So I do appreciate your time for coming on the show. And so without further ado, man, just give us a little bit of intro on yourself and all that kind of stuff.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure, especially with a fellow gunslinger. So that means it's good stories, all honesty, brutal truths, and all good things for good purposes, right?
That's it.
That's it, man. And police officer too. That's just super cool. Yeah, no, for me, just that old story of growing up rough, real strict upbringing. Got beat down pretty good when I was a kid. Made it through some pretty gnarly bullying sessions through junior high, high school, and just you know family stuff. I needed to be able to prove to them that I could be somebody and do something, and at least I don't know if you want to call it worth, gain some self-worth, I suppose. Um, and a lot of my family members that had gained that within the family were military service members. So I was like, all right, well, I got to go do that. And it always been a patriotic. I mean, we're a family of hunters, and loving, absolutely loving the country from the get go. So everything was kind of leaning towards it, and it was one of those things, honestly, where the job kind of picked the person instead of the person picking the job. But everybody had always told me that the baddest dudes around were in the Marines, so that's the one to go to. One of my uncles, who was kind of seen as the Captain America of the family, did the intel route, and then he did that for 4 years, and was a plank owner in the hostage rescue team for the FBI, and that was seen as the thing. But I can remember to one of my first personnel inspections, sitting there in a squad bay, and the senior drill instructor was asking people what MOSs we thought we were going to get and what we wanted. And he was coming around the corner, and it just something hit me, man. And I was like, it's just like my own path. And it was a decision that I wanted, and I didn't know if I was going to get, but because it's a crapshoot as to what MOS, unless you sign specifically up for an MOS. But I was like, nah, man, I'm gonna go in the infantry. And this is pre-war, right? So this was in the late '90s, and it's just, if something goes down, I wanted to be there. And I had always kind of been leaning towards service in the jobs that I had growing up. Yeah, lifeguard, gym supervisor, and I worked at a field, and kind of was a field like greenskeeper, and took a lot of pride in that, and had a actually Force Recon Marine who was my boss at the time, who helped me in the decision as well. But everything kind of just led that direction, man. And the grunts came along, and that was it from there. And served 9 years and change in the Marines, and then uh, had some things going down that was kind of switching directions. Still wanted ground time with the boys. I was seeing it coming to an end, so it was time for a change. And it was It was interesting trying to figure out what was going to happen next and what I wanted to do, because I was kind of in that weird window. I wasn't quite at 10 years yet, so I hadn't crested over the, well, you might as well ride this out. So it was,
Hmm.
hey, do we get out? Do we go to a different branch? What's happening, right? So, it was one of those things where I didn't know what to do or where to go. So I signed up at a whole bunch of different places, man, to include actually the state troopers in New York State, man, went and took their exams, tried, looked at SMU up inside the Beltway. Look at Green Berets, look at Air Force, looked at SEALs, all this stuff, to where I could like okay, maybe I could start over and get some more ground time, because I had just had too much fun, on deployments. So I wanted to keep it going. And lo and behold, through a really long series of prayer sessions with my wife, just everything, all the doors closed to every other thing, and that one thing went through. Is like, no, you're going to go through, and you're going to go and join the teams. I was like, all right, cool. Well, let's do this. And my one of my boys at the time was at Fort Bragg finishing up jump school, and he'd just finished buds. And he came up and he was like, hey, dude, why don't you come sign up? Okay, was that a thing? It's like, dude, my twin brother had been through some stuff with the teams, and he knew some pretty high-end people, and he goes, well, we'll set up the interviews. I mean, you just go be you, and we'll see what happens. All right, cool. So took the screener, and 2 years later, next thing you know, I'm quarterdeck of buds. And then 17 years down the line, finishing up, retiring from the military, man, had an absolute blast all the way through. And now I'm kind of doing my own thing, and trying to serve in a different capacity, and to try to bring the civilian population, bring toughness back, and strengthen everybody around, and leave the world a little bit better place than the way I found it, and be able to use the past 26 plus years to be able to pull from that experience pool, and help other people through maybe some tough times that they normally otherwise wouldn't get through.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And so you're born and raised in Texas.
Yeah. Yep.
Hot down there, wasn't it?
A little toasty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It had a few seasons. I believe it was warm, hot, cool, and rain were the seasons. So yeah.
Oh man, that's and now when you were like growing up, like did you
Yeah.
have any type of like, I know you said like it was like a family thing, right? Like
Yeah.
so anything prior to going in the Marine Corps, like training, getting ready, like or was it like just high school and boom?
Yeah, so I trained the first interest, obviously everybody's playing with GI Joes, Transformers, and He-Man, like any good boy in the 80s was doing.
Yep.
In 90s. And yeah, man, to train him up, I found a guy down in Conroe, Texas, that happened to be training the Luttrell twins, and cuz they introduced me to him, and he kicked my butt for a couple of years, got me in shape, and sent me on my way, man. And got the
Uh,
mindset right too.
oh, dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Were you always into like so what you're doing now, this was it Divine Savagery?
Yeah, Divine Savagery. Yep.
Okay, and what's that all about?
All right, man. So it's kind of a consulting firm, but just like in the military, we do everything in threes, right? So there's three pillars. One is speaking, and within that speaking is keynote, motivate. I say motivational, it's really discipline though, but I can't say I'm a disciplinary speaker. Somebody will think I'll, gonna whack them with a ruler or something or whatever. But that's
Right.
yeah, but just understanding that that motivation's fleeting, but discipline's what's going to carry you through whatever it is that you're going to be doing, and going through that, the toughness, grit, and then I say, mental resiliency, which really for me, it's the heart. It more comes from that. And I speak about the superhighway between the heart and the mind. Therein lies the will, and that's indestructible within every human if you know how to access it. But to bring in toughness back. But the speaking piece, business optimization, talking business leadership to every leadership role that I've had, going from, the head shed of a Fortune, name your number company, down to a mom and pop shop, of telling them how to do teamwork, team building, and basically how to build an infrastructure around the servant leadership mentality of being able to take care of your people, and they'll take care of you. And leading from the front, going from what most people see as a wolf mentality to a sheepdog mentality. And that's really taking care of your people in order to get the job done and accomplish the mission, because you wouldn't be able to accomplish whatever mission your business has if it wasn't for the people. And because it translates really well from the battlefield to the boardroom in any business setting. So doing that, and then the other one's wellness, man. So strengthening mind, body, spirit. So I'll do. I guess I could say I'm a power lifter on the side. Uh, I've studied the strength systems for bodybuilding, strongman, and powerlifting, and I've found and came in contact with a system that, to me, I think will work for absolutely anyone. And I think nobody ever went into a situation or a scenario saying, "Man, I wish I was weaker." So I'm
Hmm.
not trying to turn people into power lifters. What I'm trying to do is make you hurt less, give you longevity, and make you a little bit stronger to do whatever it is that you want to do. Whether it's someone that's a stay-at-home parent to anybody that's a top tier one operator or a professional athlete and everything in between, man. But teaching strength systems to folks, and then teaching them how to eat, teaching them how to sleep, and everything that I've learned and messed up myself to try to train people to be better than me, and do something better than I ever did. But taking that from lessons learned in a very extreme environment and being able to taper that down to anybody else.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's just hearing all that stuff right there. I'm like, dude, that's something that, I myself need improving on. Like, you know what I mean? Just everything.
Yeah,
Eating, sleeping, strength. We were talking the other day about my what I had gone on with me. So,
yeah.
the same thing, like I had to build my strength back and all that kind of stuff. But was that like that kind of stuff? I mean, you literally just retired, right?
Yeah, man. This past December.
So like, and congratulations, and
Thanks.
um
Too dumb to quit. That's all it was.
but like, so like, during your time in the military, I mean, dude,
Right,
you're like, you're a big dude, man. You're
right.
tall, and like, was fitness always something? I mean, obviously Marine Corps, Navy SEALs, I mean, you guys are like, peak performance. So but as far as like really getting into that, you know what I mean, like really diving into like the fitness aspect and all that stuff, was that, I guess that was during your time in, right? Because you just retired. So, or is it something that you literally, when you got out, you were like, dude, this is it? Like, did you see it coming? I should say.
No, it was building blocks, man. It all started, the building started being built without me knowing about it. And then I guess I had to take a turn around and go, "Oh, that's what I like doing." And I'm not too bad at it, right? So no, man, I got introduced really into strength stuff, not in the Marine Corps, because you know how it is, man. The grunts, you're in grunt shape. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be able to, hike so many miles with so many pounds on my back for however long, just pain, and put your head down and drop all your stuff, and then go do a fire movement range, right? You're able to run and do all the body stuff, and doing your daily sevens and all that good stuff, right? Uh,
Mhm.
but that was grunt shape. Traditionally, everyone's pretty much the same skinny, um, and no, and the gym really wasn't a thing. So I didn't get that until I showed up at the teams, and every SEAL team kind of has their own personality. And I didn't find that out until I showed up. And one of my guys, as soon as I showed up, one of my team leaders, handed me a jug of protein and a rifle and said, "This is what we're about. We're going to lift weights, get big, and we're going to go handle business overseas." And I went, I think I can get down with this. So that first deployment, man, is when I really started getting into weights. And I mean, that was first deployment with teams, what, 2010. And that's really when I started getting into it, and I kind of caught the iron bug. And through a series of deployments, injuries, surgeries, coming back from surgeries, I I dove into a whole bunch of different backgrounds of strength sports, right? That being bodybuilding, strongman, and then powerlifting. So you go within those camps with me, and just because the ornery, I wanted a team guy. I want to be the best that I can be at whatever it is that I choose to. So I started seeing a problem. I'm like, all right, well, what is it that I can do that will help make me a better operator and kind of give me a hobby at the same time? Because guys just had extreme hobbies, and some of one of the guys, their dad owned a gym, and he was all into it. And he was one of those guys that was, just jacked and could just run for days. And the dude was just an all around athlete. He's fantastic. So I was just like, all right, well, maybe there's something to this, but I'll take it and kind of go just with the strength, but still be able to understand what an operator needs to do, because obviously, you're on call and things like that. So you have to still be able to perform at your job. But how can I perform not maximally, but optimally at whatever it is that my profession is within the team? And it varies from person to person, and understanding, just the single understanding that was the antithesis of what we were in the core, is that nobody's cookie cutter. Everybody has their own things, and that's when I started literally falling into the understanding biomechanics, physics, the math behind strength training. And I started diving into it. And it wasn't until I started, linking up with Westside Barbell out of Columbus, Ohio, that they really, really took me to the next level. And they introduced me to the system that I do now, that kind of put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And they handed me all these books, all this stuff to read, and just diving into everything. It was just like my interest peaked, and I'm going, oh man, this is awesome. And then being able to take all of that knowledge and apply it to myself, and then to see it work to the point to where, now I'm, competing. uh it was absolutely phenomenal and life changing, right? And then understanding not just the training aspect of it, but the entire holistic part of it, of understanding sleep. That, oh my gosh, I was sleep deprived for so many years. Holy cow, I had obstructive sleep apnea. Oh, what's this thing called operator syndrome? I don't know. And it's like, holy cow, not just myself, but like all my boys, like everybody's got this stuff that was, kind of in the heat of combat for a great many years over time, that this stuff compiles over time with understanding your hormone levels, and the dopamine dumps, and you using up your cortisol, and understanding how to read blood panels. And then like I said, the sleep on top of it, understanding how important HRV ties into sleep, and the amount of deep REM light sleep that you're supposed to have, and then how nutrition ties into it also, that there's a timing behind it and there's a rhythm to it. And it's like, oh my gosh, just like with consistency in the gym is going to get you, the gains that you want. It's consistency literally in everything. So you need to have that balance with sleep. You need to have that balance with nutrition. And once you have those big three pillars in line, you're going to start to see your biggest and best physical self come out. And then it's just tailoring your training to whatever sport or whatever it is that you want to go do. Doesn't necessarily have to be a sport for an athlete. It could be just, hey, I want to go get better. And that there's a difference between exercise and training. Exercise is just going through the motions, and you're doing it to go do it, and that's great. Training means you're actively trying to get better, that whatever it is that you're at your, either if it's a chosen profession or a sport. And I say profession because a lot of people, even with their job, even if they're sitting there, pecking on keys and waxing a chair with their keister for a living, there's still physical demands on the body, because you hunch forward and lean forward, right? So that takes everything and pushes it to the front of the body. Nobody really thinks about the posterior chain in the rear, that if you strengthen that and strengthen your rear delts and your shoulders and all that stuff, that your body will start to go back upright like you're supposed to. Maybe get a good chiropractor, but understanding all of that. And that's the awesome part about the fire ice, that the other recovery modalities, but just the same thing, of the two things that are available to us the whole time that we neglect and don't pay any attention to, are sleep and diet. That'll get you right better more than anything, right? You don't really need the supplements. You go real food and all that good stuff. But anyway, I can talk about that stuff forever, man.
Well, dude, I was going to say, like, do you have like any initials after your name, like MD or something like that? I said, I mean, dude, you're like, you're so knowledgeable, and like, just to see now, like, for the listeners out there, like,
Right.
some of them may know, but like some of them don't know, like your full story. And even now, like, yes, you went through the military, you grew up, you went through the military, and then you retired, and now you have this going on. But like, for our listeners out there, like, why don't we dive into, like, your uh, small, well, I don't want to like downplay it, but like,
Yeah.
your setback that you face, like, why don't
Which
we
one?
like, the one where, basically you were told, or, maybe you wouldn't have been able to lift heavy weights anymore, or anything over a certain amount, like 5 pounds or whatever. Like,
Oh
you know,
yeah, okay. From the different surgeries, yeah.
yeah.
It was being that comeback kid, right? And I think that's probably a one of those things of growing up Gen X in the '80s, man. We had the Rocky and the Rambo and Commando and all these movies and everything, and with Reagan going at it and everybody just big old thing towards fitness, and just pushing and driving and driving and driving. With that mentality, it just kind of stuck, right? But I'm not saying that it wasn't without heartache and without issues. No, I mean, none of this stuff is easy. It's just how are you going to think and approach it, right? So I had what was supposed to have been a debilitating knee surgery, a debilitating shoulder surgery, and then I had brain surgery, later on down the line, right? With knee surgery, the guy afterwards said you'll never squat or do anything heavy with your legs again, and I'm like, all right, bet. So after that, I sent a year later, I sent him a video of me pulling it was about 18 and 3/4 ton truck on a rope, on a spy rope. I think it was like 120 feet that I was doing for a strongman event. And he goes, "What the actual heck, dude?" And I go, "Yeah, and I'm squatting 600 right now too, and my knee feels great." He's like, "What the heck?" I said, "You gave me everything that I needed, man. You told me I couldn't do it." Uh, so I used that to drive me. My shoulder surgery, man, I blew my shoulder out on another deployment, and had three procedures in one. I had the Mumford, the slap repair, and the bicep tendinosis, man. And to this day, I still can't put my hand all the way over my head, but I've gotten so much more mobility out of it. But afterwards, the guy goes, "Not only will you not heavy bench press again, but you shouldn't heavy bench press again." And I believed him. That one really took a toll on me, man. I remember staring into a 2 pound bag of Sour Patch Kids when I was sitting there trying to recover, going, "Man, this is just terrible." And I felt down the dumps, and it was just, I guess, depression or whatever. But it was just something inside me went, "Bro, put the freaking bag down. It's time to get after it." And I put this tent-like shirt back on, dude. I got freaking nasty out of shape, and I went to the gym and started banging stuff out. And I think it was like 2 years after that shoulder surgery, I finally just went, "You know what? Let's just see what happens." So I went back under the bar, I grabbed hold of it, and I was like, "All right, hello, old friend." And then I had the bar, and I just started pushing it, and started with the 45 pound bar, and it just slowly but surely and incrementally got back to where I was benching again. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything crazy heavy because I was focused kind of on strongman at the time, and bench press really isn't one of the events. It was overhead, it was kind of overhead pressing, but like I said, I couldn't really go overhead anymore, so that took strongman out of it. But the guy told me I wouldn't bench press. I was like, all right, whatever. So I just kept pushing, and the push-ups hurt, and finally got everything. There was a lot of space from him, fixing the labrum in there, and everything was loose. It felt funky, but I just kept driving, man. I tried to stay mission focused. I was like, all right, what do I really need to do with my shoulder? Well, I got to be able to climb a caving ladder and be able to go up and down a rope. And, can I do that? And what are the exercises that are going to lead me to be able to do that? And that's kind of where I started diving further into the bodybuilding side of things, and understand. And what that did was that gave me an understanding of what hypertrophy training actually was, a little bit about soft tissue and the fascia tissue, of how to expand it and grow it, and really how to understand that the muscle is literally a meat shield for the joints. And you start working them individually, and it's like, I was like, all right, well, I can't move my shoulder this way on this side, but I can on this one. I was like, all right, cool. So what I'm going to do is look in the mirror. I'm going to grab a weight. I'm going to understand that this movement makes this muscle work. All right, cool. Well, how can I do that with one hand and then mirror it with the other hand? And this trying to work the exact same with the same weight. And the bad one, I tried to pump that up. Sometimes I go double reps on it just to get more blood in there, to try to, so that way I wasn't offset, because of
Yeah.
course I've got scoliosis as well, right? So I'm working against that as well. So, and then with the lower back and the neck, with the C2 C5 degenerative disc syndrome, L4 down to S1 degenerative disc, bone spurs, bulging discs. I got all that issue going. A couple helicopter crashes, blown up a few, about 5 times, I think. Um, you
Oh,
know, it just a
jeez.
whole bunch of things. And that have caused it. And I mean, running around with a boat on your head for 6 months isn't really great for the neck. Who
All right,
knew?
real quick.
Um,
I'm just gonna stop you right there because
okay.
honestly, like I have to say it, but like,
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, kids, whatever, whoever's listening right now,
children of all ages.
this is literally like the exact like never give up, never quit, man. This is like freaking, it's incredible, man. Like, and it just goes to show, dude, like what the mind, can do. And, like, right. And again, everybody, like, you guys have to remember, this is all during your time in, right?
Yeah.
So like it's not like he just retired and had, knee surgery, shoulder surgery, and we'll get into the next one, but just people, please, like if you think you're having a bad day or or want to give up, do not like, just listen to Tommy, and
Yeah. I mean,
he'll get you straight.
what was it? Okay, well, the big ones, right? So yeah, I had well, and buds. Okay, we'll go buds. So I broke my pelvis and went through Hell Week with a broken pelvis. So that was the first kind of big one.
Oh,
Pubic rami bone was snapped in half during log PT, and I went through Hell Week with that whole thing. That's a whole other side story. So that was one of the first big ones. Had knee surgery 2013, shoulder surgery 2016, and then brain surgery was 2024. So those were like the stair steps. So it was like incrementally throughout my career, different weird things happened that I had to overcome because all I wanted to do was get back to the platoon and deploy and go do my job, right? But it was one of those things also where there was a lot of things that where um, the pride from the Marines and team guy pride was pushing me to go um, do things that probably weren't the smartest, but because um, God seems to love an idiot. That I wasn't permanently damaged, and I listened just good enough not to permanently injure myself from the rehab side of things. But was able to actually learn from it. But I mean, you talked about the knowledge. No, man, it was one of those things where literally we were building the building as we were in it, building the plane as we're flying it. Whatever analogy you want to use. But I got the knowledge through years and years and years of beating on myself and recovering and wanting to know more. And then once I was in the gym, I started helping other people, and they're like, dude, I saw you were like this, but this hurt you, and now you're over here doing this. How did you do that? And instead of going, too dumb to quit, green crayons are tasty. Right, I get it. But the thing is that there's a method to the madness, and we know enough about the human body, the mind, and everything like that. And even staying positive too. That's a huge trick to all of it, right? Because if you start
100%.
if something hits you and you go down in the dumps, dude, there's only so long that you're going to be able to last like that to where literally stuff starts shutting down in your body. But if you have that thing inside you that says, or at least you get it somehow, that says, I will not quit, I will not stop, I still have breath in my lungs, I still have a beat in my heart, I'm still in the fight. And once you understand that you're in a daily fight, a daily struggle, that from the time that you wake up, well, shoot, man, I can't even say it. You're fighting asleep too, right? So it's a 24-hour, 24/7 fight that you're in that people don't want to realize. And if you don't fight and understand how to do it, you're gonna lose, and you're gonna lose painfully. I mean, death's going to grab us all. I get that. But, you don't have to go in an extreme amount of pain. You can still do whatever it is that you want to do, which the normal thing is, hey, I want to run around, be able to run around and chunk a ball with my grandkids. Well, awesome.
Mhm.
Well, you have to work towards that. Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just not I mean, not just with the job to be able to provide for your family, which you should be able to do as a dadgum man anyways. Is be able to provide and give them what it is that they need, but you also want to be there so that way if there's some sort of event, you can participate. You're not off on the sidelines of going, there's broke old guy back in the war, or
Yeah.
whatever. You know,
Yeah.
you want to still you want to not give up, and that's why I try to hit the guys that I want to train or get right or speak to. I want to, I've got a speaking engagement working right now for some middle school kids, just to getting through bullying and things like that, right? So that to the people that are in it, right? So talking to the D1 athletes, the professional athletes, to church groups, to all kinds of individuals from everywhere, to say, look, I mean, guys that are just joining the military, wanting to join the military, here's some strategies that you might need that will put you and take you through whatever it is that you're going to have. You know, the middle of the road guys to make sure that we're going to right the ship a little bit, show you what you need to do, and equip you with the tools to go, hey, you're kind of going down a bad road. Here's a way you can route it to where it's going to be less painful than what already happened. And then the guys in the end, on the back end, right, that think they've burnt out, like, no, man, reigniting that spark and getting them off their keister, off the couch, and back up to become productive and realize that, dude, you can still do something. It's like I went through everything that I went through for a reason, and that's to be able to tell people that they still got a chance.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And honestly, it makes me so happy, man. Like just hearing, because again, we were talking about like the whole like the purpose behind this podcast that I started, and the reason, my reasonings and all that kind of stuff. And his main thing was just to get people's story out there, because if somebody feels like they may not have a purpose, they may, make that very bad decision to end everything, and
Right,
it just makes me so happy, man, to hear that you have that purpose.
right,
You have your purpose, man. And like it was, I mean, it just like you never skipped a beat, man. Like you grew up, you served your or this great country, and now you're still serving this great country. And it's awesome, man. I truly appreciate it. And it makes me so freaking happy, man. Like, because there's so many people out there that actually need to hear you. They need to hear
right.
this. And I'm just, again, so thankful you're able to come on here and
Yeah,
provide your story, man. So
no, absolutely. It's been nonstop. And like I said, it hasn't been without slip ups. I'm the least perfect person around. I believe um uh Paul once said the chief of all sinners, right? So dude, I've screwed up, I've failed, and I've bounced back no matter what. Um dude, you talk about ending it all, right? So 14 years old, I had a pistol in my head, right? I was ready to be done. I could it's the bullying, the pressure and stuff that I was getting at the house. I was ready to be done.
mm,
I remember to this day. There's certain things that like are like we talked about this hallmark moments, right? Like there's certain combat situations where if you have there's this a distinct smell even where
mhm,
it's just like and automatically I'm there again, a sound
yeah.
or there's some sort of one of the five senses that comes back and gets you. I still remember the shine on the end of that bullet inside the chamber. I still remember that, man. It was a Taurus 9 millimeter. And I was taking the slack out of the trigger, dude. I was ready to be done. And I got a
Ah,
voice in my head. And I think it was God talking to me, man, that says, stop. I got something for you. And then
mm,
I went, okay. Um, and I wasn't saved at the time. I wasn't a believer. I knew he was there, but I mean, I wasn't truly, really all in, the way that I should have been. Just dude that was like a kind of a defining moment, and from that there on that kind of gave me the we need to start charging. And
mhm,
I was even though I was getting beat down literally everywhere, dude. I even it was nuts, man. Like not only at school, not only through basketball team and things like that, but I mean I would go to the swimming pool, the local pool, and kids would try to drown me. That's honestly how I learned how to get a good breath hold, because that was the only way that I could beat them is I'd swim over to the deep end, and as soon as they'd start tackling me and taking me under, I would just keep going and go sit on the bottom of the pool and wait for them to go. You know,
Jesus
like
God.
like Boy Scouts. I was getting bullied. I was getting called names at church choir. Like everywhere I went, I was a lightning rod for getting beat on. Um, but the thing is, man, is that I'm great. I'm grateful because
Yeah.
all of that is part of the forging process. Like
Yeah,
you're not going to be
absolutely.
hard. Yeah, you're not going to be hard unless you go through something hard. And yeah, that's how you're going to find out who and what it is you're made of. And
Hmm.
every little thing is going to lead to making you tougher and making you stronger. God's never going to give you something that you can't go through and you can't handle at the time, right? So all you have to do is realize I'm going to survive. And I'm going to give it everything I have to get through whatever this is, because on the back end of that tribulation, is going to be success, is going to be victory. And that's what I want. And I use the analogy too. I tell people, it's like, look, man, the freaking step ladder to success, each rung is a failure, right? It's some
Hmm.
kind of a fail that leads you to success. That's it. And there's a difference between failing and being a failure. Failing means you tried really hard, you stunk at it. Now you need to go back to the drawing board and do better. Failure means you quit. You stepped off the ladder and you're gonna go let life kick you in the teeth.
100%. Yep.
It's all a choice. Everything's a choice, man.
Absolutely. And it just go and one thing that just always plays in my mind, and like, it's a term we throw around here, especially, me, my father, like, when he's around, and it's adapt and overcome. Like we say that to the kids, and it is it is so true. Like if something's not working out, adapt and overcome, man. Like just, figure it out. But it's so true, man. And I just this is just it's awesome. I can't say it enough, but it's awesome, man. Just hearing this, and you know, again, because bullying has it's something, you know, times have changed, so the bullying
Yeah,
has changed to where you literally had, you were being bullied, like physically, you know what I mean?
right,
Like now everything with the social media and all that kind of stuff, online, and and it still happens, like, physical and all that stuff, but for the most part, it's like, social media, your stuff gets blasted out there, and they just abuse you on the online and stuff like that. And and it's just it's just it's just amazing, man. It's a true testament of like your resiliency and just courage. You stood up, to these kids, and then you stood up, as you went through the military, and now here you are, just like you said, you're speaking in front of hundreds, thousands of people that you don't know, and you're providing your story, and just letting them know that everything's going to be all right. You just gotta, you gotta figure it out.
right.
You
Yeah,
know.
I mean, you got to think about you've now at this point in time you have lived through 100% of your toughest days. So
Hmm.
what's tomorrow going to bring? Maybe something tougher, but all of everything that you've been through, and everybody's got a story, man. But everything you've been through is preparing you for what's coming. You just don't
Hmm.
realize it. But you have to understand that, right? And people say that too about, oh man, Navy SEAL, you put yourself in life or death situations. I'm like, bro, you do that every day. And they're like, what? I said, you could die on the way to work. You could die like if you're getting into your car, so, like pulling out of your driveway. It could happen.
Yeah. Getting in the
Sure.
shower, you could slip and fall, and that's
100%.
it.
100%. Trip down the stairs carrying something, right? You're helping a friend move, something happens, couch falls on you, kills you. Whatever. You don't know that. You're making life and death decisions literally every day. You just don't realize it because you've normalized it.
Hmm.
Well, to the gunslinger, that's normal.
Yeah. Yep.
But the thing is that it's viewed as extreme, and that's what gives you a platform, or me, at least me, a platform to be able to go and speak and say, you're just as brave, you just don't realize it, right? Because you're still here and you haven't given up, you're still breathing, which means you still have a fighting chance. It's only when
Hmm.
you're dead the chances are over. But until then, you have a choice. You're going to make the
Yep.
right one that's going to lead you to where it is that you need to be in the promised land, or are you going to cave? Are you going to take the easy way out? It's up to you, man. Life choices. That's it. But through the series of stories and things like that, it's just I don't want the pity party. I don't want the woe is me. I want to be like, you can be better than me. Here's
Hmm.
what I went through. Here's how I made it to where I'm at right now. Do I have it all together? Absolutely not. Am I still learning and growing? 100%. You're a student till the day you die. So what I can do is that over these past 46 years, uh, I've gained a pinch, at least what I'd like to think, a pinch of wisdom. Not for like trying, but to be able to just tell people like, look, man, here's what I went through. Here's how I went through it. Here's how you can do it too.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not saying not to, because, but the thing is though, is that you have to make the choice, and that kind of makes the decision. And you know this too, man, is that between that, 0.000 whatever percent it is that actually make it, the only difference between them and average Joe is that those other people didn't choose to quit, and you probably just accepted mediocrity. And if
Hmm.
you're And if you've got that mentality of, I'm just going to go through the motions and you're driving a coffin to work and back.
Mhm.
Why?
Yeah. Yep.
Like you have a purpose. You were put on this planet for a purpose. You have something that sets that heart ablaze, man. Something you got passion about. Make that what you do for a living.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to say you'll never go into your work. You're going to work. Yeah, it's going to work
Right.
because work is what creates success, right? And a good work ethic will do that. And you have to be disciplined in order to get that, right? But it
Mm.
all starts with that first step forward. And everybody can make it. And that choice is everyone's. I don't care what demographic you are, it does not matter. You can succeed somehow. You just have to
Hmm.
keep going.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, and I think that's sometimes, you know, I think that's what gets in the way, especially nowadays. And like, I guess I'm dating myself too, but I'm 45, so I'm
Right.
right there. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
But like,
Same.
like it just seems like nowadays, it's like everything is so like. I mean, you think about these companies that you just boop 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 on your phone, and next thing you know, you got it right at your front doorstep. Yeah, it's awesome, but like at the same time, it's like when that shit don't come within like now it's like sometimes that stuff comes the same day. If it doesn't come day two, it's like, oh my god, what am I going to do? Like everything is so rushed and everything like that. So like understanding that, like, oh man, like you don't want to give up, right? Because it could be that day, whatever, 362, right? That you get it done, you know what I mean? But for that whole year, you try, you try,
That's
you
a very
try.
specific number, 362. Where'd you get that one?
I don't know. It just came to me because I didn't want to say like day two or day three. I wanted to make it like almost like say like a year. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
say you were told something, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
like you mentioned brain surgery, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
so like what's up with that, dude? Like you had knee surgery and hip and
Yes.
shit and all this stuff, and now you're
Yeah.
talking brain surgery.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
Did they
man.
want did they want to see, like, okay, we got a Marine here, so
Yeah.
that's the first issue. All right. And
I'm
then
just checking blocks, man. That's it.
and then we got a Navy SEAL. I think we got to dive into his brain and see what's going on, or what was going on
Well, I
with
think
that.
they were checking to make sure one was there. That was it. Just thought that's all smoke and mirrors and molten. What is it? What's the line? Molten Hobbs and bong resin, from Tommy Boy. But but yeah, man. No, I was having some pretty gnarly TBI symptoms to the point to where my wife was like, "Dude, you need to go get checked out." I mean, I'd go. I mean, everybody has the, "Well, you're getting old," and I heard that so many times, but it's just like, look, man, I'm not gonna believe that. It's like my brain should be working fine. There's got to be something wrong because I was having brain fog and sleeping was bad. I was feeling down in the dumps and like it just everything was like it just seemed like all systems were shutting down. Right.
And real quick, the TBI, what is that? Just in case
Oh,
some.
traumatic brain injury, right? So
Okay.
being knocked in the head a couple, 3 times, and knocked around. Military tends to do that in multiple different ways. Real
Hmm.
good about knocking the old noggin around. So I was having brain fog. I was forgetting stuff. I was off ramping when I was talking. Okay, now that's a me term because I'm too dumb to understand big science doctory terms, right? So what I meant by off ramping is that say my conversation is a highway. Well, I would go on the highway and I would have a start point and I would have a destination. Well, my brain would kind of off ramp and take an exit and I would start having to circle around that, but like I would forget what the heck I was talking about and where I was
Hmm.
going with the conversation, right? So I would sit there and talk circles until I got back on the highway and then finally either figured it out or just went a completely other different direction to the point to where I was noticeably seeing people going, "What the heck is he talking about?" And I'm just like, "I don't know." So I know I had a point. I know it was a good one. But anyway, so that was starting to happen. And it was more of those things of, not just like going into a room going, "Why the heck did I come in here?" But I would sit here and look and go, "Okay, I see that that's a light switch. I understand that that's what it's called, but I can't remember that it's called a light switch." Right. I mean,
Hmm.
it got to that point, and I was like, all right, I got to get checked out. So, the Care Coalition crew through, Warrior Care. Absolutely phenomenal. They got me hooked up with this program called Home Base up in Boston, which is tied to Mass General, and they do the full gambit, man. But the first thing they do is the neck and brain scan, and then that's when they found it, the stuff in my head that wasn't supposed to be there. And I remember going into the doc's office, and I was just supposed to have a meeting with the with the I don't even know what kind of a doctor they were. I know it was a PhD. But anyway, doesn't matter. So there's like 8 people in there, and I go, okay, well, so what? Why the party? And they're like, sir, we're gonna need you to sit down. And I'm like, why? Did you find a tumor? And they went, and I went, oh, you have my attention. I'm gonna go ahead and sit down. So, yeah, man, they found size of a gobstopper. The old school ones, kind of dating myself there, was attached to the back of my brain stem, and I had a cyst big as my hand that was in the inside of the back of my skull, pushing my brain forward. And they were like, "Look, man, there's a couple of 3 different things that could happen. One, it could shrink and go away, least likely. Two, it could solidify and it'd be a rock in your head." And I was asymptomatic, um, so they said that could happen, but they said the most likely is that it'll continue to grow, and because of the placement, it would have cut off, because it's back in my brainstem. It would have eventually grown to the point to where it was cutting off the vessel that delivered liquid to the brain. So brain dries out. Hey, it's dirt nap time. So literally, without warning, I would have dropped dead someday if I would have let this thing go and they wouldn't have found it. Right. So they go, we're going to monitor it, see how it goes, and then we'll make a decision if the decision has to come. I'm like, okay, fine, no problem. And then of course they go in for the hugs and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, no, don't touch me. And then I said, where's the gym? And they go, I'm sorry, what now? I said, where's the gym? I said, I got an hour and a half till my next meeting with you guys. I need to go lift weights. I was doing the bodybuilding thing. So I was like, I need to go hit shoulders. So I'm going to go do that. And they said, well, we just told you, I was like, look, here's the deal. This is the way you think about it, right? Is this going to kill me right now? No. Okay. Is anything that I'm going to do exacerbate the situation? And they went, no. I went, so again, where's the gym? And they're just looking at me like, I can't believe this. Like, I don't like iron therapy. That's my thing. That's what I do. Right. So went in there, blasted shoulders, man, had a great session, and went throughout the program. But anyway, met with the surgeon, had the scans, and they monitored it for 3.5 years. And it grew to the point of a Titleist, a golf ball, right? And they're like, hey, man, this thing needs to come out. So lo and behold, next thing you know, I'm getting hooked up over at Mass General Hospital for brain surgery, man. And
Oh shit.
it was nuts, dude. A lot of crazy things happen. I had during surgery. Well, hang on. So there's so many jokes and stuff that I put. So for me, I'm not gonna say when I get nervous like Chandler, I talk jokes. But the thing is, it's like when you're in a situation like that, I kind of when you're in a situation like that, everybody's always like super super tense. So for whatever reason, my reptilian brain goes right to comedy. Like, just I'm gonna break the air for everybody else. So I mean, I remember they were hitting me with the I had to, it's funny too because of my size. I had to go in a day early for rehearsals, and they had to build this platform to hold me for the amount of time for surgery. So I went in the day before, and they built this thing for me to hold me in there. So anyway, I'm sitting in the wheelchair, and I was like, hey man, can I just like get up and go get in the position, and then you guys hit me with the shot, we call it good? And they said, no, sir, well, legally we have to be able to lift you up. I went, so I'm gonna be limp, right? They're like, yes, you're gonna be out. I went, how many people are you using? And then they said, well, we've got 6 guys here and here. And I went, could I see them? And they go do like a lineup, and I was like, you need more people. you know. So and they're like, no, 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 I think we got it. And so anyway, they start parading me in, and of course I'm seeing all these different scissors and scout. It looked like the old school medieval times, like when they rolled out all the weapons that they were about to torture you with, like with the William Wallace or whatever. And I'm just like, hey, are all those for me? And they're like, yes, all those are for you. Like, sick. I'm looking forward to seeing those. And they're like, what's wrong with you, man? So anyway, the anesthesiologists, they come in and they stick me, and I start going in, and I said, well, how long is it going to take for you guys to get me into position? And they said, oh, I'll take about 15 minutes. And I'm like, you tell me how that works out on the other end, man. But it ended up taking them an hour and a half to get me into position. Right. And I was laughing the whole time. So afterwards, of course, but that happened. They got me into position. So, they start the skulls open, they start doing a thing or whatever. They open my head up with they got the big scar or whatever. They found out they didn't open it big enough, so they had to slice me sideways and open me up more to
Oh
I was
shit.
joking, said you're trying to find the brain, right? Um, but for them to go in. So I don't know if it was that caused it or whatever, but I actually had a stroke during surgery um, that they had
Oh
to
shit.
that they had to attend to. And one of the it was a pretty big deal, man. At least that they told me it was. I don't know, but there was like a staff of 30 surgeons that were in there working over and over. It was supposed to have been, I think, an 8-hour surgery. It ended up taking them 12 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a marathon, man. Um, and one of them had COVID. So as my skulls opened up, one of them actively had COVID. So what that did was that now when I was in ICU afterwards, I was quarantined. But I was like, you know what? If you're going to get COVID, I'm going to do it the man way with my skull open, right? Of course, I never
Yeah.
got COVID. So, hey, where you go? No big deal. But I learned about all kinds of things. So the other thing was too, is that, so when I open my eyes, they're waking me up or whatever, and they're like, hey, Tommy, and you're coming out of surgery, you got that weird whatever. And of course, I come out and I'm cracking jokes, right? So they go, hey, how do you feel, this, that, or the other? I was like, I got a headache, I have no idea why. And then they don't know that it's okay to laugh. I'm just like I said, I'm just trying to break the silence and keep the air a little bit funny. And
Hmm.
I said, hey, is it weird that I can't see out of my left eye? And they go, I'm sorry, what now? And they go, yeah, I'm blind in my left eye because I was doing this number, you know and it's like I had vision here, literally black. It was black darkness.
Oh
And
shit.
they're like, oh, and then that went to like freak out level 9. We hit terminal velocity with those guys. They went and grabbed the surgeon and this, that, and the other. So it turned out that the tumor was actually pushing against one of 9 optic nerves that you have, and this one kind of turned the lights out on one side. So he goes, "Hey, we're going to monitor it. We're going to see what's going on, and that'll be that." And I said, "Hey, man, was there any damage to it that you saw when you were in there?" He goes, "No." And I went, "Okay." So I was like, "There's no additional damage." I'm like, for whatever reason, there was this huge calm over me. I was like, everything's gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. So then, of course, all the staff in there was freaking out because the actual surgeon apparently never comes down and sees the guys in ICU. It's like he does this thing, high fives,
Hmm.
good games all around, and then that he's off. You never see him again until the checkups later on. But yeah, man, it was weird, but I came back. I was sitting in there, and the next morning it went from black to fuzzy, and I'm like, progress. Everything's gonna be fine. And it ended up taking about maybe 3 days before my vision came back. And then they're like, well, because the big thing that they were worried about was that I was gonna go. I almost said wall-eyed. That would have been funny. But no, but I was gonna have double vision the rest of my life, and I was gonna have to wear prism glasses. And I'm like, nah, I'm not down with that. I'm not gonna do that. But initially it went from black to fuzzy light to blurred, like I need glasses, and then everything started clearing back up. Then it did go double vision, and then everything, I think it was like the 5-day mark. Everything was I was lasered back in. I took the eye test, and everything was fine. Um, but and I didn't know this about the stroke either, about the scarring, that it causes permanent scarring, and it's like a little gray spot on the back of your brain whenever you go back and do another brain scan. But I know this is making a long story longer, but it's just it to me it's interesting.
No.
But
Yeah.
day one, um, I say, hey, what can I do? Is there a physical therapist? This, that, and the other. And they're like, dude, just you need to rest. And I'm like, and of course, I'm concerned about a clot. I was like, I don't want nothing to clot. And they're like, you're in shape. It's going to be okay. Because I'd gotten like super good shape going into surgery. Because obviously, the better you are going in, the faster you're going to heal in the background because your body's used to healing itself. And I'm like, nope, I got to do something. So literally, I mean, it was the nurses were sitting there staring at me through the thing because I had these. It was like a double door through ICU because I was
Hmm.
quarantined, right? And they would stop and look because I was in there doing flutter kicks on the bed, right? And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm going, "I'm exercising. I'm not getting a clot." So then they gave me this thing and the other thing was that the lungs.
Like in your gown.
Yeah, in the bed in my gown doing flutter kicks. So I got videos of myself doing all this stuff. It's hilarious. Um, so then they gave me the little breathing apparatus of little balls, to keep it up, like
Yeah,
breathe,
yeah.
you know. So then it got to the point where I was like, well, this isn't wearing me out enough. So I was doing flutter kicks and blowing this thing at the same time, trying to up my O2 max, right? And then I got the bright idea of I need to move. And I think it was the second day. Now, for whatever reason, the pills that they were giving me was giving me insomnia. So for like the first, 2 weeks, I was probably getting out 2 hours tops of sleep. Um, I just for whatever reason. But the funny thing is, I'd wake up after 2 hours and I was ready to go. I don't know why. It was just strange. Um, and I've got videos too, but I had a tube coming out of the back of my head with the that was hooked into my spinal cord, right? So it had the
Hmm.
brain. So it was, and I was making a joke, obviously, as I'm sitting there eating a burger. I'm like, I'm looking at it, I'm seeing these little chunks inside the fluid. And I asked the nurse, I'm like, hey, what are those little pieces? Oh, those are brain particles. I'm like, can you put them back in? Because I think I need those. you know? And she's like, no, idiot. That's not, I was like, it's going to be fine. I'm going, oh, okay, cool. So anyway, I've got the little stanchion, right, with the wheels on it and everything like that. And it's got like four different IVs. And then, well, there's three different IVs that were in me. And then there was a bag that had the brain fluid, right? And it was supposed to stay at a certain level. So I got the bright idea of I need to move. So day 2 or 3, something like that, got out, got up because I remembered I was like, I have to go to the bathroom, and they showed me how to get up and move. So I was like, all right, well, I need to get up and move and exercise. Well, I couldn't leave, so I got up and I pushed all the devices and crap away from my bed, and I would literally, with one hand on the bed, I would just walk circles. And it's like I would go until my head started feeling like woozy, and then I would sit down. And then I'd wait till everything normalized, and then I'd go again and see if I could get farther. So I started like drawing lines on the deal, and it started like, so I was in a strongman, right? So there's this thing called Conan's wheel, where you pick up an implement and drive it in a circle, and however many rotations, whoever gets the most rotations is the winner. So I'm literally making marks on the floor of how far I made it, right, to try to beat it every single time. And then I would go one direction, then I would go the other direction, because it was the whole thing of, you run on ship and your shoes get messed up because you're running the same direction. I'm like, no, we got to keep this going both ways, right? Going
Hmm.
all directions. And then I started, because I'm a child, I started looking through drawers and stuff, and I found an exercise band, and I went, sick, I can use this. So again, I video this, but what I did was I got my stupid little friend, the stanchion. I moved all the IV and the brain drip to the back, whipped the exercise band over the top of it, and start doing tricep extensions with my foot on one side of it, just sitting there getting it, man. And again, it's funny because you see the nurse walking by, and she's like, "What? What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm passing the time and exercising and getting myself better." So, but I got it to where I could do that. I flipped it over the bottom and could do curls, and then they told me that, hey, I was going to do 5 days in ICU and then go do a step down, right? And I was going to be in step down for a couple of days, and then they'd finally release me. And I'm going, not a big fan of this step down thing. I said, how about y'all release me from ICU? And they're like, well, that's not a procedure. I'm going, okay, what is the qualifications for me to get out? And they go, and they brought the physical therapist in, and um, I had to be able to walk straight forwards, walk straight backwards, walk side to side, go up and down stairs with good balance. And that was it. Right. And then obviously having everything normalized, you get all your pills and, whatever. And I had to come back 10 days later to get the stitches out of the back of my head. And which they put metal parts in my head. They didn't tell me beforehand either. They told me after I'd had surgery that they were putting Terminator parts in my head. I'm like, cool, man. So when
Oh
nobody's
my.
self-aware. Um, so which is kind of cool because I have a metal thing. And then of course the cousin Eddie jokes start coming.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, my part can't dent my head. The part it just my hair don't look right. And I walk by a microwave and because I piss my pants and I forget who I am for 30 minutes. Um, but anyway, yeah. So they had stuff back there too, which was fun to find out. But whatever. Um, so anyway, at the 5 day mark, I got out, and they're like, "What the heck, man?" Because that band that I found, I tied it to one side of the from one side of the room to the other, and I started actually stepping on it. and using it to strengthen my balance with one leg. Then I would do it on the other, and then I would lower it and come up with it to get my hip flexors and balance back, right? And that's all I had to do during the day. So I was literally doing different exercises until I couldn't. So anyway, they let me out day 5. I'm back at the hotel, right? So hotel, they say, all right, you can go and do some type of walking as a cardio, right? They go, you can walk for, 10, 15 minutes, stop for 2, and do that like 3 times a day. Okay, for up to day 5, I think it was. Day 5 of being released. And I was like, all right, cool. I said, well, what about weights? And they're like, only lift 5 pounds. I went, okay, 5 pounds, no big deal. Uh, so I go down to the hotel gym. I have to go on an incline because I have to sleep, and I can't. They say I can't go flat because of the fluid in my brain is still trying to get back to where it needs to. So I had to stay at a 30-degree angle, I think. So I was sleeping at a 30-degree angle, and I was using an incline. So I grabbed the 5 pounds and I started, doing incline bench reps. I started thinking, wonder how long I can go before this gets really bad. And I remember asking the doc, of saying, hey man, so what can I do? And he goes, look, if you hear or feel a pop in your head, that's bad. And I went, huh. So is there anything leading up to said pop that I'll know? Because that sounds really bad. And he goes, you'll figure it out. I'm going, okay, cool. Different for everybody. So I started doing reps, and it started to feel like a balloon was inflating inside of my head. And I was like, well, you blow up air into a balloon, eventually it pops. Okay, well, I'm gonna let that be my marker. So came back the next day, got a few more reps, had the same feeling. And I go, okay, what's gonna be throughout all of rehab. This is gonna be my marker, to let me know that it's time to stop. But I was getting better, so, and improving in what I could do. Like, all right, cool. This is going to work. So first thing for me was to see how long it was going to take me to get back to where I was before going into it. So I, had written down of, the things that I could do. As far as cardio wise, how my lung capacity was, how much weight I was lifting, all that. And I wrote down in a book called Road to Strength, and it's literally everything, every exercise that I did, all of the supplements, vitamins, and stuff that I had added in, throughout, and then where I came up with a problem. Hey, this hurt, couldn't do this. It would hurt a lot doing this, but all the setbacks, because like I would put a bar on my back, and this huge hematoma would go, and the guy that was helping me out was like, whoa. And I went, he goes, can you feel that? I go, no. And it was on the left side of the scar. And he goes, dude, it looks like a little alien just came out of your head. I went, all right, well, we'll let that be the guide on squats. He goes, okay, cool. So and it was just eventually, it was one of those things where add a couple of pounds here, a couple of pounds there, everything's fine. So that was another side goal, and the road to strength, I think, ended in 14 weeks. In 2 days, I got back to where I was going in, right? Because I got
Okay.
surgery going, I'm going to be better than, and I said that with every surgery, right? I said I'm going to be better than I was going in every single time, because especially people, you go into the brain clinic, that have had cancer and things like that, and tumors and all that stuff removed, and they all look like Mr. Burns, right, from The Simpsons. They're all hunched over, they have this massive scar on their head, and they just look like they freaking hate life. Just like, kill me, just like, let me go run into traffic, or you know what, let me skydive without a parachute. I don't even care. Like, I don't want to live like that. So
Yep.
I'm like, I'm not gonna let that be me, no matter what happens. So, um, my other the road to strength thing is actually what ended up leading me to West Side Barbell. But I came back with, I still have it, the book. Nobody wanted to see it. Medical practitioners didn't want to see it. Physical therapists didn't want to see it. Nobody wanted to look at it. Even the surgeons, because I had no roadmap. He said, you're going to have a roadmap. And I'm like, well, here's something tangible that a human can do post brain surgery. Why wouldn't you want this metric? It's like, I'm not trying to get fame and all that. Whatever. But it's like medical journals, something like, why wouldn't you want this? And they didn't. But finally came around West Side, and the owner goes, show it to me. I want to see it. And I went, cool. And he's still got a copy of it, man. And it's one of the things they do for rehabbing athletes and people coming back. It's just a metric that they have now, which is cool. But that was it. But also, on day 5, when I started doing benching, I came up, I was like, I'm drawn by challenges, right? So I was like, challenge myself. So I did. So I was like, all right, I'm benching 5 pounds right now. And I went, okay, within 1 year, I'm going to go from benching 5 pounds to benching 500 pounds. Right.
Holy
It
shit.
seemed absolutely astronomical. Actually, it seemed kind of stupid, but I'm like I said, dead green crayons are tasty. So I had to do something, and I ended up doing it in 362 days. Man, I got a little picture. I sent you the picture, but yeah, ended up doing it in 362 days, man. Just kind of
Oh my
not just to
God.
drive myself, but as an inspiration to other people, right? That's like it's only over if you say it's over. And also, you talk about mentality and pushing through that, right? The scarring. So right now, I have my last brain scan. Not my last one, but my last brain scan that I had up in Boston, right? Um, he goes, look, man, if I didn't know that I was the one cutting on you and we had to reshape your skull and the metal back there, he goes, just looking at your brain, we can't even tell you had surgery. Like there's no, like everything has grown back. He goes, you have a perfect looking brain. Like even the scarring, dude, the scarring from the freaking, stroke, it's gone. Absolutely gone. There's no sign of it.
And they think that's contributed to your exercising and all that kind of stuff. Like,
They don't know. They don't know. I told them, you guys need to believe in Jesus, right? But because that's where real healing comes from, baby, and that's where real strength comes from. So,
yeah.
but they tried to say it's the positive attitude, it's the exercise, and I kept one of the jokes I tell people too is there's nothing that deadlifts can't fix. That it's the that it's the pressure, the nonstop pressure and blood flow and everything going in my head from all the heavy lifting. Maybe that had something. I don't know, man.
Oh man,
But they
that's
couldn't necessarily explain it. What happened? But like, I don't feel pressure. I feel nothing. I sometimes I forget I even had surgery, man. Um, it-
no shit. And
yeah.
how long do you got? How often do you have to go for scans?
So it was every 6 months. Now it's annually, but I don't have to go up to Boston anymore. Like they just put in for me to go get an MRI. Down here in Virginia Beach area at Portsmouth, I go get a scan, send it up to them, and then they just say, whatever, you're good.
Oh wow.
But like I'm like hands free, go on about your life, man, go enjoy. But like everything has healed, like everything. So
Dude, that is awesome, man.
yeah,
Oh man. You mentioned West Side Barbell.
yep,
I see your shirt.
yeah.
Uh and so what is that?
So to date, everybody always wants to tout themselves as the strongest gym on the planet, but I don't know of any other gym in the world that has produced the amount of records and strength that Westside has. And then the system that Louis Simmons built, who's the original owner. Um, he's been doing it since the 80s. I mean, 87, I think it's when they opened the first one. Other than that, before that, it was out of his garage, but it just took a series of really strong guys. And then the mad scientist of lifting that Louis was by combining Russian and Bulgarian style systems and building them and adding them to what they did at the original West Side in Culver City, California, and formed his own system. And then just started taking people that were 14-year-old kids and brought them and turned them into world champions. And the next thing you know, people start coming and they're breaking world records after world records. I think they're at like 155 world records broken in powerlifting.
Oh
And
shit. Are they basically over in
Columbus, Ohio.
California?
Columbus,
Oh,
Ohio.
Ohio,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. The original one was Culver City, California. I think Bill Peanuts West was the guy that ran it, but Louis was from the west side of Columbus, which was kind of like a badge of honor because it's kind of a rough area of
Rough
town.
there.
So he called it West Side Barbell in honor of that gym, but it became the West Side because of the system and the effect that Louis had on the sport of powerlifting. But the thing is that it's bled into everything else. They've multiple gold medalists. They made Usain Bolt faster. They've got professional athletes there, the big time into fighting. UFC fighters have been there. Matt Brown was there. Kevin Randleman trained there. All UFC champions in their weight classes. Currently, they've got two Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champions, world champions that are best in their weight class, whole litany of other fighters. They've got pro lacrosse players, pro volleyball players, just all kinds of professional athletes. It's still a buy invite only gym.
Oh,
And
no kidding.
it's literally a research, but it's free for the athletes, right? But it's absolutely amazing. But to me, when it comes to like strength and building strength, they have a system that's time proven. And a lot of other people don't have that, right? You got your influencers and all these
Hmm.
people that want to do this, and you don't know what they're sticking into their body. But with this system, whether you're enhanced or not, it does not matter. The system will work. And I know this because I've tried it on operators and I've tried it on myself. And I've gotten better to places where I never thought I would. I thought I would just be, like my knees and joints and this, that, and the other were hurting, but they don't have to. Why?
Hmm.
Because I mean, with my knees, it's this introduction of box squats, which people are like, "Oh, that's only for geared powerlifting." This, that, and the other. It's like, well, no, it's not. If you can, whatever your max is on a box squat, your back squat will be 15% more. But what it's doing is it's saving your knees because you're actually sitting back instead of sitting down. And what it's doing is it's breaking up the movement pattern, the concentric and eccentric chain, and it takes out the stretch reflex, which gives you that extra 15%, right? Coming out of the bounce out of the hole. So it's not only helping save your knees and your joints, but also by going wide, it helps you use your posterior chain as you're actually squatting, which is funny because then that type of squatting translates directly into whether you're doing conventional or sumo deadlift pulls. Right. So you combine that with sled drags and everything, and then adding bands on things, accommodating resistance, learning about accommodating resistance is like, holy cow, you can actually strengthen the soft tissue and connective tissue with it within your body. How do you do that? You do that through speed work, right? Weird. Hey, like Newton knew what he was talking about, but force equals mass times acceleration. You only have a certain amount of time to make a lift. Well, if you're sitting there grinding it out, you're probably not going to make it because you're spending too much time on it. So now you're cruising into the world of the speed strength curve, right? So the faster you are, the more force you're going to be able to produce times the mass that you are, and you'll
Hmm.
be able to make that lift not only faster but safer, right? So now you're cruising into the world of training maximally versus training optimally. You can't max out all the time. That's what the Bulgarians were doing. But I mean, they were also like shooting up all the steroids, right? But they maxed out way too many times, and people weren't getting longevity. Right. What don't realize is that Louis Simmons tested this stuff on himself as well. Right. And he remained with it. First of all, he was one of, I think, three people on the planet that have totaled elite in powerlifting in 5 different weight classes. Right. So that in itself is a crazy achievement. But like the Lifetime Achievement Award is he remained top 10 on the planet for more than 35 years. That's unheard of, right?
Oh
Even
my
even
God.
even the GOAT Ed Cohen will tell people that the Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Louis, right? But like I said, he created this environment, and he created an education system and a strength research lab that will help absolutely everyone. And before he died 2 years ago. Before he died, he told the owner now, Tom Barry, he told him, go out and prove my system to everybody. That's the big thing, right? Like we won't like Westside won't host powerlifting events anymore, and powerlifting's dead. But what they'll we're not really dead because they still obviously train powerlifters. Um,
Hmm.
Burley Hawk, for goodness sake, who's my coach, is still up there, and he's going to be breaking world records in no time. But that system, that obviously, because that's what they're based out of, that system is what they're based out of, and that type of strength. So they're always going to be training powerlifting and that type of strength athletics, because that's what they were formed in. However, what they're doing is they're manipulating it to every single type of athlete there is. So the strength research is still going on. It's just taking that and applying it to absolutely every sport, and so far it's worked. I mean, they took an NFL lineman that had a full tear in his ACL, and he was able to play the whole daggum season with a full tear because his hamstrings were so strong.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're utilizing like, yeah, yeah, I get you, dude.
strength. What was Mark Bell say? Strength is never a weakness, right? But
Yeah.
and like I said, what I tell everybody, I told you was like I never came out of a situation, and I've never heard of anybody ever coming out of any type of situation and saying, "Man, I wish I was weaker." It's not a thing, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So everybody needs to get stronger in some way, shape, or form. And the cool part about this system is that it identifies weaknesses, because a lot of people, they want to ego lift, right? Ego is a
Hmm.
huge thing that, one, leads to injury, and two, doesn't train you properly, because it's like, oh, I'm good at this, so I'm going to train this. Well, no, you need to focus on the bad things, because then the way I equate it to is like a dam that's about to break, right? From afar, you look like this huge, monstrous, awesome structure. But once I get up to you, there's cracks and there's leaks. Well, what
Hmm.
this system does is it plugs the leaks and actually makes you that. And the proof's in the pudding, man. I said I started using it on operators, and they freaking love it. Because you think about injuries, right? Where are most of the injuries really in sport? Where does it happen? Soft tissue. Well, if I'm
Mhm.
training that and training the connective tissue and the soft tissue within the joints, I'm basically bulletproofing the body as best you possibly
Mhm.
can. Now, of course, if you're like football, rugby, or an impact sport, things happen. But at the same time, because you're in a sport like that, why wouldn't you try to be the strongest you possibly can in totality? Right. So
Yeah.
it may cruise into the politics of the strength and conditioning world, but the fact of the
Well,
matter
dude.
is that there's a way to get people right, and it works for everyone.
Yeah. Well, dude, that's awesome. We should do another, like, we can maybe do like another, sit down about all that.
Sure.
That would be freaking awesome, dude. And go over, like, because that's, yeah, I mean, I know that there's a ton of guys out there that I know that, you know they do what they do, right? They go to the gym, they do their
Right.
lifting and all that kind of stuff, or they train this, train that. And
Sure.
but that would actually be really good. I'd be curious to know too, like, just to hear all about that,
Right.
more in depth, because same thing, like, I'll go to the gym, and and I'll do my thing. I basically just try to, run through some sets on some machines. And because I don't want to get hurt, right? So I sort of just do what I do. And whatever, just try to stay as much mobile as I can.
So then my whole comeback to that is, why are you doing that? Why are you doing those exercises? Why'd you pick those specific exercises, and why do you repeat them?
Just to like, I guess, just to maintain, you know um
There's another thing. There's no such thing as maintaining. You either are going up or you're going down. There's no in between,
well,
right?
yeah, so yeah, you're right, yeah, yep.
Because I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you think about it physiologically, it's impossible to maintain, right? Every breath that you take, you're one step closer to death. You get
Hmm.
morbid on you, but that's the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
Your body goes up to a peak, right, of where it's at its peak condition. Its testosterone is the highest. Everything is singing on where it can be. Then it's a dadgum decline. Now it's, well, what am I going to do to make that decline not a cliff jump?
Hmm.
Right? And so,
Yeah.
but the thing is that through the system, the conjugate system is, we've at least figured out, and Louis figured out, that you can gain absolute strength, meaning peak strength, up until your 80s. That's
Oh,
what we know
shit.
of. It could go
Right.
for, I don't know. It's just
Hmm.
nobody's done it. But what I'm saying is that people go, "Oh, I can't do that anymore. I can't do." No, it's not that you can't. It's that you won't. And you don't have somebody that doesn't look at fitness as a cookie cutter exercise or a cookie cutter thing, right? Fitness is individual. Louis always said is, you got to understand the three things. And I said this earlier. The three things to understand strength training, right? You have to understand biomechanics, physics, and math. All of that behind it. You understand those on a person to person basis, and you'll become, the best training partner slash coach that you possibly can be.
Hmm.
You have to, but again, yeah, even as a coach or as a trainer or as a training partner, you've got to take that ego check as well, right? So,
Hmm.
but it's a thing. Like I said, why would you do that? And the thing is that if you stick to those things, well, your body's going to accommodate to it at some point, and you're going to plateau because you're not training.
Right.
You're just exercising.
Right.
And then if
Yeah.
you're and then because you're not getting any better, you see that mentally as, I'm maintaining. Well, eventually it's going to have a detraining effect, because your body, you're only training it a certain way. You're not training anything else. So eventually you're actually going to start detraining and declining, right? So where you could get 3 sets of 10 and bench at something, you won't be able to get that anymore. Why? Well, because probably you're not training your shoulders, your upper back, your triceps. You're not training everything that it takes in order to make the lift happen.
Hmm.
That there's an 80-20 split. We spend 20% of your time on the main lifts, right? The big three that support the big three: squat, bench, dead. But really understanding the mechanisms of a human body, of what it is that you need to do, right? You need to be able to press. You need to be able to pull. I say push, pull, overhead press, squat, hinge, and carry. Those are the six things that a body can do. So you want to be able to make all of your movements lead towards that. Now, if that's a sport, then you go that way. If it's life, you need to go that way. but there's a huge bank of exercises that help strengthen and make you better within that. And if you don't understand your weaknesses, then all you're going to do is train your strengths. If you sit there and all you do is train, flat bench all the time, well, I mean, that's a cool story, but how are your triceps? How are your shoulders? How's all the supporting stuff? Do you know that you actually need to have a big upper back and a well-trained upper back in order to be able to bench press stronger? It's a thing. Like you need
Hmm.
lats to catch the weight. You need thickness in in order to have this shorter amount of time from the bar go or their distance, excuse me, between your chest and where you have to press the bar. Are your hands in the right position, right? Are they too far out? Are they too far in? I mean, are you mechanically working correctly? Are you squeezing in the right spots to where you're using the muscles you're supposed to be? Most people are like, oh, well, they get into the high school football and I can't even say nothing against them. They know what they know, right?
Right.
But they get back into that high school football mentality of the bar has to go to the chest right here, and that's where I'm going to push it. Yeah, well, talk to me when you have your shoulder problems and your pec tears and things like that, right? There's a way to fix all that, and it's training optimally and not maximally, and it's training with a system that strengthens your weaknesses. Period. But you don't know what
Gosh.
the weaknesses are if you don't identify them, and you have to. You
Yeah.
have to take. And if you don't understand how to self-assess, you got to find a trainer or a coach that knows how to do a full body assessment.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. Because I gotta work on my back, for pull-ups, and I gotta get my pull-ups back because I neglected them for so long, and
Right.
then when I go to do one, it's like, it's like, dude, don't even look. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's terrible. Real
But
quick,
even
don't.
go ahead. Sorry.
That's right. Squat, or push pull, squat,
Push,
hinge.
push, pull, squat, hinge, overhead press, and carry.
All right, I'm just jotting these down.
Oh, you're good.
Overhead carry or
Mhm.
overhead
Overhead press,
press.
and then carry to be able to carry something like a suitcase or whatever. Pick up and carry and walk with stuff.
All right, that's good. That's
But
good
even
to
with the
know.
pull-ups, the Marine Corps teaches you wrong, right? A dead hang pull-up is not smart because what happens is that you are forcing your body and your shoulder to almost come out of socket to get that dead hang. In order to
Right.
build that back muscle, you only need tension on the lat. So once you drop down to where where the muscle stretches, as soon as you start feeling that stretch without the joint coming out, as soon as
Hmm.
you feel that stretch, that's when you stop. And it's just before lockout, right? And then you pull up and squeeze. And whenever you're at max squeeze, if your chin's over the bar, great. If it's not, fine. Everybody's different. That's what they don't tell you, right? Um,
Right. Yeah. It's like
because
they don't
because
count.
you're trying to avoid shoulder problems. Well, then okay, why am I doing a pull up? Well, that's what I've always done. Cool story, bro. But if doing a pull up is not translating into something that is leading you towards your fitness goal, then there's other ways to strengthen your back and make it wider. Here's the other piece too. Yes, a pull up will help make you have a strong back. Absolutely. But the thing is that if you really want power, you need to do rows, right? Rows are going to bring you Louis always said rows all made you stronger, but pull downs made you pretty because that gives you the width, the cobra head, right? So there's like
Right.
but the thickness is where power comes from. But again, it's what it is that you want. If you want to look, aesthetics can be something for somebody, and they want that good cobra head V taper, male female doesn't matter, and that's a phenomenal way to do it is pull-ups, absolutely. And you got the basis of strength and everything else that comes into it. But the thing is
Hmm.
that you're not necessarily specifically targeting your back doing that exercise because there's so many other things that are going to go into doing it. Whereas I could go to like 4 or 5 different lat pull down machines, still be able to work my back and then not hurt myself either in the long run. And I'm
Hmm.
still building that V taper that I need, right? Whether it be double, single, all the multiple different things. And that's the other piece too that's wonderful about the system is it's constantly rotating exercises, rotating bars, rotating exercises. So that way the law of accommodation never comes into play. And you're consistently and constantly getting better in something. But you don't know how to do that if you don't know all the exercises.
Hmm.
That's where study comes in. That's where practice comes in. And it's sometimes you start vomiting all this information to people, and it kind of like, maybe I shouldn't go to the gym. No, you absolutely should.
You
But,
should.
but
Right.
but
Yeah.
what I'm saying though is that if you're going there, go there to learn. Because why are you there? You're not there for the looky loos and stare at yourself in the mirror. Some people are, but
Right.
like you're supposed to be going to the gym to get better. That's what you're there, and that's why I respect anybody, regardless of body type, body size, does not matter. If you're in the gym, you're trying to get better, phenomenal, good on you, right?
Hmm.
So now with your body type, body shape, body composition, whatever it is, what's your goal? Let's try to get you there as optimally as possible. And whether you do it or not, again, it comes back to that choice thing.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, dude, that like again, just want to say thank you for coming on and just
Yeah,
giving your story, man. Like honestly, it's awesome in so many aspects. And I use that word all the time, but it's just there's no other way, man. Like it's awesome to hear, you know, again, like your whole life story and what you've overcome and what you went through and you're 100% right on, everything you spoke about, that kind of stuff as far as, just that iron sharpens iron and like you have to go through stuff to get better, like in the failure and the fail, failing and failure, right? Like so it couldn't be more accurate, and I really do hope that at least this message gets out to one person, right? Because if it gets out to one person and and they hear this and they're like, oh, you know what, yeah, maybe I can do something, you know what I mean? Like so again, I appreciate this, and so happy that your purpose, you have your purpose, right? So again, just literally getting out of the military and having your purpose is just it's something that I really just I love to hear, because again, without a purpose, man, it's just like it's things could end up going the wrong way. So again, thank you for giving your story. Also, where can we find you as far as like social media,
sure.
um, website, anything like that?
Yeah,
Um,
the website www.divinesavagery.com gives you kind of the three tiers layout that I talked about earlier, and then has a contact on there if you want to hit me up. And everything's tailored to the person, right? You look at it and go, well, this really didn't tell me a lot. Well, it tells you enough. It tells you enough to hit me up and ask a question, right? And I tailor everything to the person, whether it be speeches, training program, leadership, everything, like I said, just like with fitness, right? Nothing with me is cookie cutter. Everybody's
mhm.
going to get something personalized, so that way you get the most out of it, and I can put the most amount of me into it that needs to go into it, right? So that's the website. LinkedIn, there's Tommy Richardson on LinkedIn. That's kind of where my
Uh,
biggest crew of people following me is. And then I just, I just started up Instagram at raise.your.horn. And then
okay.
and then I'm on Facebook too as Tommy Richardson.
Okay. All right, cool, man. Well, listen, dude, I appreciate it, man. And I really just hope that, like I said, this gets out, and people hear it. And I don't know if I was telling you this the other day or not, but like our first, or I'm sorry, the second episode, I recorded with a Marine buddy of mine, and we talked about some things, whatever, just basically the same thing, like like mindset, right? And I received some feedback from somebody that I have no idea who they were, but they sent me like if I could have printed it out, it probably would have been like a 10-page email on
Sure.
he just checked himself into like a rehab. Like it was just like I was just like, wow, this is awesome. And again, just going back to the reason why I wanted to start a podcast. So with this story, man, like I can't be um I can't be more thankful or more grateful. So Tommy, I appreciate you coming on here, man. And if there's anything else I could do for you, or anything, just please hit me up. And again, thank the listeners for listening. And yeah, thank you, dude. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Forrest. Appreciate you having me, brother.
All right. And so yeah, just all right, I'm just